What's going on, everybody? You're watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. And coming up on today's show, we're going to be diving into a recent Warren Sharp article. He was talking about J.J. McCarthy throwing between the numbers this past season, and a lot of these stats are incredibly concerning. We'll also compare McCarthy throwing over the middle of the field this past year in 2025 to what Sam Darnold was doing back in 2024, and overall just talk about what this means for his future with the Minnesota Vikings. But if you guys could, hit that subscribe button. We will be keeping you guys posted with everything going on around your favorite football team. We're actually going to be live at the NFL Combine, so we'll have an exclusive press conference with Kevin O'Connell here on the channel, the latest quarterback rumors. And if you guys are subscribed to the channel, just give me those skulls down below in the comments section. We are closing in here on 70,000 subs, so don't miss a thing around your favorite football team and hit that subscribe button today. All right, so Warren Sharp saw Alec Lewis's recent article where he was suggesting that Kevin O'Connell removed most of his over-the-middle passing concepts throughout the season, wanted to help out J.J. McCarthy, and Warren Sharp saw this, and then he dove back into the data on McCarthy throwing between the numbers. And it's not looking good for McCarthy because his numbers throwing between the numbers are horrible. He was 43rd in the NFL in accuracy rate. 43rd in completion rate at 67%, 42nd in EPA per attempt, and 37th in success rate. So clearly J.J. McCarthy, I mean, he wasn't just bad throwing between the numbers. He was the worst quarterback in the National Football League throwing between the numbers. And here are his percentage on all of his attempts throwing in between. So 38% of all McCarthy's passing attempts came between the numbers. The NFL average is 48%. That's a 10% drop-off compared to every other quarterback in the National Football League. But it's not just like, oh, maybe it's Kevin O'Connell's offense. Well, the two other quarterbacks that started this season for the Vikings, Carson Wentz and Max Brosmer, they were at 47%. Max Brosmer was at 52%. So McCarthy, clearly there was something there that Kevin O'Connell didn't like with him throwing over the middle of the field, specifically between the numbers. And as an offensive play caller, that just has to limit your playbook. If you don't trust the kid to complete just simple, deep in-breaking routes over the middle of the field, that just limits of what you could do offensively. And also imagine being a defensive coordinator scouting the Minnesota Vikings, knowing the tendencies where they rarely attack the middle of the field because of the quarterback. It just sets the Vikings behind the eight ball, and that's why we saw offensively this past season, the Vikings were just flat out horrible. But it also gets worse with McCarthy. So Warren Sharp highlighted some of the past defensive efficiency rates that McCarthy faced this season. Now, the Vikings overall throughout the year were about middle of the pack, but J.J., he played a lot of middle of the pack pass defenses. Like the Chicago Bears, they were 23rd. The Falcons were 16, Lions 11, Ravens 20, Bears again, and then the Packers in Week 12 on the road in Lambeau Field. That's tough defensive play, especially with Micah Parsons at the time. They were 12th, but then when McCarthy started to get hot against the Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants, those are some of the worst pass defenses in the league. And then even Week 18, when he played that first half, the Packers were playing all backups. So that wasn't the same team that J.J. McCarthy was playing in Lambeau back in Week 12. And, McCarthy, he clearly struggled versus below-average defenses this year, which is obviously incredibly concerning. Like, if he was going up against, like, Max Brosmer was, where he was playing in Seattle, or Carson Wentz in Los Angeles against the Chargers, okay, you could chalk it up to, hey, he's a young quarterback. Obviously he was struggling, but this was a kid who they spent the 10th overall pick on. He was a highly touted high school recruit, national champion. Then he gets to the NFL level, and he just can't perform basic over the middle of the field passing concepts. And, even though I had my gripes with Kevin O'Connell, still as a whole, the Vikings have a very good support system. Like, he's still throwing to Justin Jefferson. He's still throwing to Jordan Addison. He's still got Jalen Naylor, TJ Hawkinson, two good running backs in Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. There is still a good support system here. Now, obviously, the Vikings wide receivers struggled with drops this past season for the first time, it feels like, in the franchise's history that they had a drop issue here in Minnesota. But still, McCarthy, he was not good enough against middle-of-the-pack defenses with a good support system, and that's why this is so concerning. Now, if you compare it back to what Sam Darnold was doing between the numbers in 2024, well, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He was number 4 in yards per attempt, 9.4, 5th in success rate at 60%, EPA per attempt, he was 10th, completion rate, he was top 15 as well. So see these numbers, compare those to J.J. McCarthy, it's not good, but even goes deeper than that. EPA per dropback, 42nd compared to 10th, success rate, 37th compared to 5th, yards per attempt, 20th compared to 4th, sack plus interception percentage, J.J. was almost dead last in the league at 45th, where Darnold was 16th. And then the touchdown to interception ratio, probably the most concerning part, J.J. was averaging more interceptions per throws than touchdowns, where Sam Darnold was 2.8 touchdowns to 1 interception. So clearly there was a huge discrepancy between Darnold and J.J. McCarthy, which, you may chalk it up as, hey, it's unfair to compare a 22-year-old making his first year starting in the NFL compared to a veteran in Darnold. But again, at the time, Darnold was not considered one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He was just a reclamation project for Kevin O'Connell. And also, this was concerning. JJ's interception ratio between the numbers was 7.1%. That was last in the National Football League. Dead last. Even guys like Brady Cook for the Jets, even Max Brosmer, Carson Wentz, the worst quarterback at throwing between the numbers in terms of interception ratio was J.J. McCarthy. Now, what's even more concerning is the specialty between KOC and Justin Jefferson is the between the numbers throw. I mean, if you just toss on a Justin Jefferson highlight tape on YouTube and you just want to kick back, relax, watch 18 do his thing, what does he thrive on? It's those deep in breaking routes. It's those deep crossing routes where you can shake the DB. He gets behind the linebackers, fits really well in between the safeties, and he's great at the middle of the field. So this is a big reason why Jefferson's numbers, which we talked about with J.J. McCarthy, were horrible. He was averaging 49 yards per game this past season with J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. That's not on Justin Jefferson. That's not on Kevin O'Connell even. That's on the quarterback. So it gets me into this. At this point, I will be shocked if J.J. McCarthy's QB1 in 2026. Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, they thrive on throwing the ball in between the numbers. What is J.J. McCarthy's biggest weak spot of his game right now? It is those types of throws. So that is incredibly concerning. It is not a good stat for McCarthy heading into the next season with Kevin O'Connell. He's on the hot seat. He needs to win a playoff game. Is he going to trust that J.J. McCarthy can develop? Can he take that next step and develop his game? I have my doubts on that. So overall, right now, I don't think it's going to be McCarthy as QB1 next season. You guys let me know. Should J.J. McCarthy be QB1 next season? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Listen, the Vikings were in a different spot here where they weren't, under this pressure cooker where they have to make the playoffs and they have to win a playoff game. Or even if McCarthy just stayed healthy for all of last season, I'd probably be saying yes. But with the health concerns, with him struggling over the middle of the field and just overall not looking like an NFL quarterback at this point, I think they need to go a different direction. Maybe it would help him to either have a change of scenery or just sit another year and develop behind the scenes. But you guys let me know your thoughts down below. Should JJ be QB1 next season? I got more thoughts coming up here in just a second, but if you guys could, check out our St. Patrick's Day merch at chatsports.com/VikingsGreen. We got our Minnesota drinking team line out right now, and if you guys want to help support us, just click that link in the comment section and description of today's show. If you guys want to rock some Vikings gear for St. Patrick's Day and also help support us here at Chat Sports, this is the design of the t-shirt. So just hit that link for $29.99 down below, chatsports.com/VikingsGreen. Now, I think there's no doubt, J.J. McCarthy will get better this offseason. That is not a hot take. That is the most obvious take. Most young people, whether that's football, whether you're an accountant, whatever you may be doing, you will get better, especially in growing years, like when you're going from 22 years old to 23 to 24 years old. He will get better. There is no disputing that. But the question becomes, how much better will he get? Will he go from being a bottom 3 quarterback in the NFL to a top 15 quarterback, to a top 10 quarterback, or will he go from 32nd in the league to 24th? Because if he doesn't take those huge strides, then I think the Vikings will probably go in a different direction. But if they believe in him and they believe in hey, all right, J.J. McCarthy, he's going to take some huge strides this offseason, he's going to get a whole lot better, then maybe they will. But I just think KOC, I think he seems done with J.J. The way this guy was talking about him during the season and all these reports coming out now, it makes so much sense. This guy was talking about mechanics at the press conference, even hinting that J.J. was immature in certain spots. It is just making a lot more sense. When I was ragging on Kevin O'Connell for not supporting his young quarterback, we'll see what happens now. Now, I will say, with the scouting combine this week, next week, a lot of reports will start coming out where we'll get some tidbits here where it's all right, the Vikings, maybe they're calling Arizona about Kyler Murray. Maybe they're calling Kyler Murray's camp about if he does get cut from the Cardinals, will we have any interest coming to Minnesota? Maybe they're going to pick up the phone and call Kirk Cousins. Maybe it's a Geno Smith. Maybe it's some of these other quarterbacks that we don't even know about, but there will be a lot of reports coming out next week because GMs, agents, They're all going to be at the scouting combine in Indianapolis. So a lot of these tidbits, a lot of these nuggets will start dropping, and we'll see, if we get any more clear answers on what will happen at the QB spot this next season. But I will say on two guys, Kirk Cousins, Mac Jones, I don't think they're the answer. I think the Vikings are in an interesting spot right now where they got to kind of value, or they got to make a determination where it's like, how big of a risk do we want to take at the quarterback position? And I think the safe options are Kirk Cousins and Mac Jones. I can guarantee the Vikings will have a top 20 offense next year with Kirk Cousins and Mac Jones, and they'll have a top 5 defense with Brian Flores. Is that good enough to make the playoffs? Potentially. I think the Vikings with Kirk and Mac could be a playoff team this next season. But they'll probably be 10-7. You're not ripping off 13, 14 wins with those two at quarterback. So will they go the safe route with those two? I would even be more against Mac Jones compared to Kirk Cousins, considering the draft capital you would have to give up. If you are going in the Kirk Cousins direction, in my opinion, that should be a straight-up quarterback battle during camp, where J.J. McCarthy still has the early nod to be QB1, but I just still think they need to take a risk, try to go get a Kyler Murray, but so at the end of the day, there are not many good options out there. And I always get back to this, where it's like, if Sam Darnold, if he was on the trade block or if he was a free agent this current offseason, what would the Vikings do to get him back? Like, you had him in the building and you let him go, and it's just crazy how we are now. I mean, we were 13 months ago, we were talking about the Vikings being the number 1 seed playing in Detroit against the Lions. And then 12 months later, Sam Darnold, our quarterback, won a Super Bowl with a different team. There's some really bad decisions made by this Vikings team over the last 12 months. But you guys let me know who would be QB1 for the Vikings this next season. Drop that name down below in the comments section. Right now, I have no idea. If I had to give my best bet, I think it would still be Kyler Murray. I think he fits in that bill of, guys that were drafted very, very high, went to a bad organization. Kevin O'Connell feels like he could get more out of them. I would still probably lean Kyler Murray, but we'll see what happens. Now, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Help us reach 70,000 subs here on YouTube, and we'll see you guys next time. As always, let's go Vikes.